Alright, what you see here set up is the gaming area for Elder Sign. Elder Sign doesn't have a game board. It just has a bunch of cards that you see here and some dice. Cool dice with different symbols on them, not standard dice. And the closest thing they have to a card is this clock, which maintains the ticking clock towards doomsday, if you will. To play the game, to start off with, after you've kind of set things up, and each player will need to pick a character. And these are character cards. And when I turn them over here, you're probably going to say, oh, you know, if you played Arkham Horror, you're going to recognize these guys. You know, Vincent Lee, you know, Bob Jenkins, Amanda Sharp, Ashcan Pete. And so you can, oh, there's the lovely Mandy Thompson, of course. But, you know, when you're going to play the game, you can choose randomly, you can pick. I'm just going to pick my personal favorite, Harvey Walters here. And you'll notice that, you know, there's the picture of the old professor. And there's some stats here. He has 7 sanity and 3 health. To track that, you get these little chits that you put on your sheet, like so, and like that. And there's also his ability. Each character has an ability. Harvey Walters has once per roll. He can change a die showing a terror result into a scroll result. And he also has these starting items, a book and a dagger. Now, the book and the dagger, dagger is like unique or magic items, and this is an alien statue, but you'll see here it has a little plus red die. When you use an item, you use it up, so you discard it, but you get to add a die when you're going to roll. That's important. And then spells, you just have this little deck of spells. Take the top one, and you see it says the Shriveling. And most spells are like this. It doesn't really matter what the name is. That's kind of just flavor, if you will. But it has this box. And when you cast the spell before you roll the die, this gives you the ability to save a die on the card. And this is important because you'll be re-rolling dice, but if you get a die that has a result that you want to save while you roll the rest of the dice, you can use the spell to do so. And spells, like items, once you use them, you discard them and you move on. Now, so we've got our hero, so we need a villain. Once again, we open up and we're going to see people that we recognize. Hastur, Shub-Niggurath, Azathoth, Ithaqua. You know, if you've played Arkham Horror, you've definitely seen these people. And of course, the big bad guy, Cthulhu there. So I just picked Cthulhu because, well, he's cool. We'll put him there. Now, the bad guy, you can see, has a Doom track. So if you played Arkham Horror, you're familiar with that. And it lists off if you actually end up fighting the Great Old One, because you don't collect enough Elder Signs. He has his attack listed here. The effect Cthulhu has on the game, because he's the Great Old One. The symbols that you need to roll on dice when you're attacking him to affect him. And the lucky number 13. There's a number here surrounded by like this Elder Sign symbol. And as you collect Elder Signs in the game, you will place Elder Signs on him. If you ever have 13 Elder Signs on this card before he awakens, you win the game. You'll also see the Doom track. You just add tokens to the Doom track as it goes. These spots here, that are different than these guys in the cloaks, these summon monsters if you have this. So if like you put another Doom token like that, you'd be summoning a monster then when that happens. And I'll explain monsters in a little bit. So that's the kind of like the timer, if you will, just like Arkham Horror if you've played that before. So there we go, we have that. Now, you have your villain, we have our hero. How do you play? Now you can play this game 1 through 8 people, so I could be playing this game by myself. I rarely, if ever, play games solo, so that's really not happening. But on your turn, you there's this little tiny cardboard thing. I wish these guys were a little bit bigger, but whatever. And this represents you. And the theme of this game is that you and the other investigators are all in this museum that has all these creepy things going on inside of it. And you've discovered that a big, giant, evil, astral beastie is trying to break through and destroy humanity. So you are investigating the museum, trying to find these elder signs to stop this from happening. Now, to begin the game, you have this deck of cards here. This is the Mythos deck. Once again, you've played Arkham Horror, you're familiar with Mythos deck. Before the game starts, you turn one over and you read it. This one says the stars align. At first, the top part is the immediate effect, what you do. It says add a Doom token to the Doom track. So we'll go ahead and add a Doom token up there. And this is the lingering effect. So when the clock next strikes midnight, a monster appears. So you place this down here, and that kind of just warns everybody that next time this clock gets all the way around and back up to midnight, a monster is going to show up when that happens. So it's my turn. When you play, you have an option of going to any one of these locations, these cards. They're basically adventures that your character has to go through and has tasks they have to complete to succeed. Or, if you wish, you can go outside the museum and do one of these three things. The only time you really go outside the museum is when you basically have no chance of completing anything that's in here because you're either too wounded or you don't have items. And basically out here you can heal, you can get a free roll of a die to see if you can find an item in the Lost and Found in the museum that can help you. Or as you defeat monsters and complete adventures, you earn trophies, and you can turn trophies in and buy certain things like clue tokens or elder signs and items and things like that. And clue tokens, I just mentioned those just so you know what those are. When you get a clue token, it's kind of like once again, if you played Arkham Horror, when you spend a clue token, you get to reroll some, one, any, all dice after you made a die roll. But I mentioned die rolls a few times now. Let's actually show you what happens when you actually do a die roll. So here's my professor. He wants to go and investigate. He decides that he is going to try to do this one, the stay away from the windows. So I place my character there, and I notice that the two lines of the task, one says that it is 8 investigation symbols, and one says 2 skulls. Now, when you roll the dice, unless dice are locked up, and I'll explain that again in a little bit, you normally get all 6 of these green dice. If you spend certain items, like this alien statue, you can add these dice as well. Now, it should be noted that these dice actually have better results. For starters, investigations on the green die show up as a 3, a 1, or as a 2. And on both the red and the yellow die, you actually can get a 4 investigation, which is, kind of cool. Also, on the red die, there is a symbol. Let me find it here. This little investigator symbol. That's a wild card. You can use it to be pretty much anything you want it to be. So that's really helpful as well. But the professor is feeling lucky. He's going to roll all 6 of his dice and see what he gets. So, for starters, it doesn't look like he did really well because you need to fulfill these particular tasks. You need to get at least 8 investigations, or you need to get 2 skulls. So since I got 1 skull and 2 total investigation, this wasn't a very successful roll for me. So I'm going to have to re-roll. But when you re-roll, you have to get rid of one of the dice and re-roll with less dice now. So the chances of me succeeding have decreased. Now there is one interesting aspect to this game, is that you have the ability to focus yourself. So yeah, I didn't succeed, but I did roll that 1 skull, remember? I have the option, I can place one of the dice that after I failed, I can place that on that particular location, and now I can re-roll again. So I've got this 1 skull saved, I re-roll, whew, so I got 2 skulls. So now what I do is I take those 2 skulls and I place them, succeeding in that particular portion of the task. And now I have 3 dice left. And basically I have to get pretty lucky at this point to get 8 investigation to succeed. So I roll again, and I'm going to fail. So unfortunately I only got 2 investigation. Normally at this point I am going to have to get rid of a die. There's no way I can get 8 on only 2 dice. So I failed that particular attempt. And so now what I'm going to end up doing is I'm going to look at the failure result that's on the bottom of the card. There's also the success part of over here as well. And that would be 2 elder signs if I actually succeeded. That's why I tried this one. So it looks like I'm going to lose 1 sanity. I'm going to add a token to the Doom track, and I'm going to lose 2 health as well. So unfortunately, the professor didn't do really well in that particular situation. But I leave my character there, and that's important that I leave my character there actually, because if another player comes and this player comes up and they're going to play there as well. Remember what I showed you with the focus? Now because I'm in that location, they can use me as another focus. So if they fail a roll, but they want to save a roll on my character, they can use me to assist. And so like if they rolled that, they'd have that skull. And so hopefully, because I'm saving an extra die for them on that location, they'll actually win. Now, there's one thing about failing a roll that's very important. And I'm going to show you on this particular card here. It says terror, lose 1 stamina. Now if you fail a roll and at least one of the dice has this symbol on it, this is the terror symbol, any terror effect that's on this card automatically takes effect. So you would lose 1 stamina besides of the fact that you're going to lose all that thing. And also sometimes certain Mythos cards will have terror effects as well, that if you fail and roll on that terror. So if you fail, sometimes it can be really bad if there's that terror on there. I should